Vamunanga, Vakahondo, Adiku Wenda, Vakahondo, Tomakuwa Zoro, Zavamo, and Basalitiro, but never come
Vatashikandwa mune chimwe chigomo paive pakati pesango, paive pakati pairatidza kuti is in the middle of nowhere, paine chimba chimwe changa chisina kupera chiri pawindow level.
Motsande yenyu wana baba ndimi makaramba kuteerera mashoko zvinodiwa namusiki chonaita zvaitanyika.
Welcome to this edition of the Free Talk, brought to you in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation. We believe that dialogue on political and socio-economic issues in Zimbabwe is the major ingredient for development. And on this show, we discuss anything political, economic, and social. Now, this week we are joined in studio by one Cecilia Chimbiri, known in the political circles as Comrade Chauya Chauya. Now, Cecilia Chimbiri is a young political activist with the MDC Alliance, which is led by Nelson Chamisa. She joins us in studio today to discuss her political journey, ambitions, and where she wants to see Zimbabwe going. Now, welcome, Cecilia, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Blessed, for having me on today's show.
Amazing. Now, Cecilia, just as we open, just a brief background of your political journey. Just tell us how it has been.
I think I'll start by mentioning how I started. My journey doesn't start in mainstream politics. My journey actually starts a young Cecilia Chimbiri, 22 years old, joining the Government of National Unity, working with the Deputy Prime Minister then, Arthur Mtambara, Professor. I was on the organogram according to the Minister of Public Service. I was the Deputy Press Secretary in the Office of the Deputy Prime Minister. This was a huge opportunity, a young girl full of hopes for opportunities in a country. This was a huge task at the time. I don't think I actually really knew what it entailed. But when I look back, as I am now 32 years old, I think about what a great opportunity this was. So I was working for the building of this nation in the Deputy Prime Minister's office, participating in the Vision 2030, participating in the national branding of Zimbabwe because we were coming out of a bloodshed election and we were trying to then rebrand the nation Zimbabwe. I then left the Deputy Prime Minister's office as I had been appointed to go and work with the Constitutional Parliamentary Committee, which I joined at the onset of the outreach campaigns for the constitution making process up to the drafting stage, which I sat with the creme de la creme of this country who were actually participating also in the constitution making process. It's a proud moment for me because it also then puts me in the middle of the nation building of our country. So I also then participated in the referendum, and then I was then appointed again to be one of the youngest joint on the Joint Monitoring and Implementation Committee, the JOMIC. I was one of the youngest provincial liaison officers working with National and Central. I was the provincial liaison there in National and Central, trying to build peace towards the 2013 election. And then we went to Congress, and I became the Deputy Secretary General. That's when in fact, what then made me join the mainstream politics was I started asking myself the question, where are the young women? There were no young women participating in the mainstream politics. So I began asking myself the question, why are young women shying away from politics? And then maybe I thought I could be the answer by actually participating and being part of those young women who I'm questioning. So I needed to ask the question from within. So I contested in the Congress, and then I became the DSG. I started rising through the ranks, and I started speaking out on women's issues, and especially encouraging young women to actually participate, to be the change that they want to see, and to actually know that there could be nothing for them without them. So this is how my political journey started. It's a long story. It's a whole long journey of exciting and nostalgic moments for me. But this is where I began, to the time where there was an MDC Alliance to be formed, where a coalition of political parties came together. I decided again to brave the storm, to actually then become a part of the National Youth Assembly leadership. So I was contesting, I think you remember at the time you guys were covering our Congress, I was contesting 5 men who were contesting me on the post of the National Youth Vice Chair, of which I became victorious, and also it's another proud moment for me. But I think the journey, mostly maybe getting into its inspiration, is me as a young woman carrying the burden of every other young person in this country, to say, no, there are some of us who have to sacrifice to be on the front line, and this is where we then want to get to. So as I sit here today with you, I'm the acting national chairperson of the MDC Alliance Youth Assembly, seeing that our national youth chairperson has taken an absence of leave on medical conditions for 6 months. So I will be acting in the next 6 months, and it's a huge burden, and it's a huge task for me, seeing being on the front line, also noting what has happened in the past, but not fearing anything as I go into this journey.
Yeah, but you've had several run-ins with the law, and some people would want to know, why do you continue to brave this, even in the face of those run-ins with the law that you've had?
I think I am driven by an unshakable belief that change is possible in this country. I'm driven by and aspired by the young people who journeyed and drew together and took a decision that, you know, in the colonial era, that enough is enough. We are going to brave the storm and make sure that we bring a non-colonial state to this state. So those are the people who I draw inspiration from.
But these are the same people you are fighting against at this moment.
Yes, some of them, but I think most of them then also died. There are casualties in every war. But that decision that they took at that time is what then inspires me to this day. That no matter what happens to me, no matter the casualties, no matter what is going on, I will continue to brave the storm, because we need to bring about the change to this. We are a wasted generation. I've never known a pay slip in my life.
But you worked for the Prime Minister's office.
I did, but...
So you got a pay slip then?
Oh, at that time, well, yeah, yes, maybe you can say that. But when I speak, I don't speak on behalf of myself and what is happening. I speak on behalf of the majority of the people. I'm embedded here today in my family house. I don't own a property of my own, and I think I speak on behalf of every other young person who is sitting out there. If you go close by to the shops there, you see youth who are hopeless, almost, who just have their future. They wake up and go to the shopping center. Some are abusing drugs, some are just loitering around there. And that will show you the current situation that we are in, and that is what then drives me
Do you
to
think
actually want to
Do you
fight.
think the youths who fought for this country, and now the leaders of this country have lost it somewhere.
Yes, they obviously lost it, because now it's an entitlement, something that I don't believe as a leader we should have. I would want a situation in which, in this drive that we are fighting to have a better Zimbabwe, like what we have seen happening in Zambia. What is happening in Zambia currently, we just witnessed the inauguration of HH, and it could be effect in Zimbabwe in 2023, only if we, as the leaders, actually take it upon ourselves to make sure that we engage our young, to actually make them a conscious youth that will actually start understanding where we are and what we are supposed to be that is not here. We have been taken for granted. Democracy has been made mockery of by the ZANU-PF government, the same youth that I'm talking about, that took a decision to go and participate in the War of Liberation. So I think they've taken this country for granted simply because of an entitlement that they went to war, and they're using it for personal benefits and personal gains, and not necessarily for the people that they are supposed to be representing. And this is what we need to correct. The government and the ZANU-PF, the ruling party, needs to account to Zimbabwe all the things that they have done in the past, because post-colonial state is a mockery to the whole nation. And this is what we need to correct, and we are going to correct it in 2023. We will make sure of it, and we are not going to sit back and watch our future just go. At least if our lives have been thrown into the pit, at least we need to then look out for posterity.
Some people have accused you of causing trouble to yourself, bringing drama by provoking the state to be arrested. What would you say to such accusations?
I think these are narratives that are brought in by the, when people become dictators, they will coin every narrative to bring confusion to the people. But my resolve will then actually save the day, because one day people actually understand what we were trying to do. Because I'm a young woman who has opportunity, an educated young woman. I could be anywhere in the world. I could be anywhere actually trying to migrate with others who have decided that is their choice to actually leave this country and not try to work for the contribution of its growth or to actually bring change. But I am here. I am here because of that conviction, that passion, and that belief, that unshakable belief that change is going to happen. Look at Zambia. The young people have brought change in that country. And I can't sit. What if I'm one of the 10 who are actually supposed to actually be helping? So this is what then makes me have this great conviction that I have today. Sitting here in this country today, despite all odds, despite everything that has happened to me, I am driven by this thing that, I know the dictator and his antics, they will try by all means to bring narratives that will get us as young people rolling heads to say, they bring trouble to themselves. But why me? Why not any other person? Why not, you will find that this is targeted because I've got a voice. So this is what I have to say about that.
I know you're not supposed to talk about your court case because you've got a bail condition on that. But
Yeah.
how does that affect you in terms of being outspoken, in terms of continuing to do your work, the court cases that hold you back?
I think it draws back the voice that I'm supposed to bring to actually really expose what the atrocities and the things that this government is doing, to actually thwart the voice of the young people. I'm not the only person affected, because today it is me, tomorrow it is another person. We have Makomborera Ruzivishe languishing in prison there simply because he's got a voice, and they will do that. And these are the dictator tendencies of every time they will want to put a suffocating mechanism in order for you not to speak about your story. But I don't think really it affects me, because I can engage in the politics of this country in other ways other than speaking about what they think they have suffocated my voice for. So it doesn't really affect me that much, but I know one day I will live to speak the real story.
What do you say to people who say you oppose for opposition's sake?
I don't think that is true. It is actually, I think it's from a position of not really understanding what we stand for. And this is where we are now going, taking the MDC Alliance leadership to a point where we make our youth conscious of what we stand for, our ideological standing. what we actually are really fighting for. We don't oppose for the sake of opposing. If at
But
all,
your party was invited to Poland to share ideas and bring in about this change that you're talking about, and your party said no.
yes, because simply it's a matter of principle. I don't believe you can be a referee and a player at the same time, because we thought there would be a framework in which there would be a moderator to this dialogue, because dialogue takes cognizance that there's a problem behind. So how do you solve the problem when you are the problem? This is the simple reason that our party is not part of Poland. But I'm not really qualified to speak about that, those issues. But I think this is the framework. We have a framework problem. That's why we disengaged from Poland as a party.
But wouldn't it be beneficial for the youth of Zimbabwe? You lead the youth. For the youth of Zimbabwe to find a platform that, regardless of political affiliation, you all have to talk to each other instead of fighting each other every day.
Yeah, you make a lot of sense, because I think as part of our plan, from where we are going, from this very time that I'm talking to you, we plan on having such kind of platforms. They don't necessarily to be official Poland-like platforms, but you are going to be seeing such kind of platforms in which we encourage the spirit of debate in this country, to debate about issues, to talk about whether the problems that the youth are facing can actually then segregate and say these are ZANU-PF youths, so they won't face the same problem. These are MDC youths. So you'll find those platforms are actually going to bring us together to actually find, a voice and speak to the issues that are really affecting the issues, and see that these issues are cross-cutting and not affecting a person simply because of their political affiliation.
Let me bring you to the issues that ZANU-PF, in its leadership, has said that they are, number one, they are fulfilling their electoral promises. You also see that they have worked on rehabilitating the road, Mashingo Harare Road, and they're saying that the economy is improving. Now, is this not what you want for your Zimbabwe?
I don't think a whole nation, a whole government can actually pride themselves in fixing a road that was long overdue being fixed. But we commend the efforts that are being put, but those are not the priorities. The ruling government is not, its priorities are very misplaced. And to us, we believe that I don't think they fulfilled their election promise. Number one, you see the issue of human rights violations. The new dispensation, as it was called when they were coming, we have a lot of human rights violations, recorded and non-recorded, that continue to take place simply because of a government that is in panic, a government that does not want to see people actually expressing themselves and having a voice and speaking to the issues that they actually have. Number one, that's not a fulfillment of any promise. Number two, the number of young people that are actually standing outside as you go on an ordinary Monday day, and you see the young people sitting across bridges, young people not having any form of opportunity to have for themselves, to actually fend for their families. That will be number two, visual for yourself to see that they've not fulfilled any electoral promises. And number three, we'll talk. There are a lot of issues that we can talk about. There is a lot of urban poverty going on. We have a lot of brain drain happening in this country. People are migrating to other countries simply because of a government that has failed to prioritize the real things that are supposed. But you know what they then do is they want to speak to these three victories that they think they have done. You talk of the road. It's something that they would want to continue, talking about every day to seem as if it's a big victory.
Do you think that there is room for democracy in this country to thrive?
I think we need to have strong institutions, because I don't think it should be a matter of strong men. It should now be strong institutions. I'll continue to give Zambia as an example, because that is what has re-energized the hope of many Zimbabweans. You know, if we have strong institutions that are detached and not invested in the politics of the country, then I think there is room for democracy. What needs then to happen? We need to have reforms in this.
But do you think the institutions in this country are not strong? I mean, ZEC says it delivers, it is an independent institution delivering elections that stand the test of the Constitutional Court.
That's a very debatable story, taking into cognizance the fact that ZEC is actually polarized. ZEC has, you know, it has in its top leadership, it has people who are from the army, and the same ZEC that you're talking about in 2018 could not actually, you know, announce results as per the time stipulated by the Constitution. We have issues to do with the judiciary capture, which then, when we went to the courts, ZANU-PF was announced and Emerson Mnangagwa was pronounced the president simply because of the judiciary capture. I don't think we have strong institutions. We have institutions that are invested in the politics of the country simply because of certain gains and certain rewards that they then look forward to having.
But as you question the institutions that are there, you continually get into trouble with these institutions. Are you not afraid?
I am human. At some point, I will be forced to actually fear for my life. But in the end, it's better to fear, but actually doing something. I don't need to sit back and be in fear of these institutions. I know that at this very moment, many people, even my family, would be saying, why don't you quit things like that?
And why don't you?
I cannot quit because, like I'm telling you, that it's a path that you're set on where you carry the burden. You carry the burden of wanting to be on the front line because you want to give your fellow young people that hope that democracy can actually be effect, like what has happened in Zambia. It can actually be effect in 2023. So I cannot quit in the midst of wanting to run away because it defeats the whole purpose of me being set on a path in which I'm supposed to fight for my fellow young people.
Do you think you are a light for other young women out there and young people? Should they follow you, and why should they do that?
I can't say for 100% that maybe I am a light, but this is what also I need to then, you know, tell the young people out there that me being in this situation today is actually the government trying to set an example through me of them, of what they are not supposed to do. So this is what the dictator will do. They'll set an example of a few young people who have a voice in order to actually then cripple the ones that are supposed to actually come out. And the moment they recognize that, this then means that we can have a pact and we can draw the same situation that happened when the young people who took the decision to go to the liberation war took that decision and that stance to go and fight. So I think they should actually be following us, number one, because we are saying we need to fight for the Zimbabwe that we want. The Zimbabwe that we want is a Zimbabwe that can give young people jobs, a Zimbabwe that has no politics of patronage, a Zimbabwe that people can actually benefit, not because of political alliance, a Zimbabwe that will give a young person opportunities to actually flourish in their respective potentials.
But some people would look at you and think the MDC Alliance is a mirror of ZANU-PF. You are like the same. You also have politics of patronage with the CCC thing coming through. What would you say to those people?
The CC thing, as in Chamisa Chete Chete, you know, I think it's the propaganda that ZANU-PF tries to put at play. The CCC slogan is us propping an idea. What is the idea? The idea is that this country can actually be led by young people with innovative ideas, with actually the right priorities in their in place. And this is the idea that we are promoting. It's not politics of patronage.
But people call you a cult. They say it's a CCC cult.
I think that's when we, as the leadership, we actually need to actually then maybe school them to make them understand that CCC is an idea of our young leadership, an idea of leadership that dreams, It's like an issue of spaghetti rods. Are we not allowed to dream because CCC has said that? We can dream as Africa, we can dream as Zimbabwe because it is possible that it can happen. And in that slogan or that hashtag CCC you are referring to, it's an idea that is being promoted of a young person who is dreaming, a young leadership that dreams of a better Zimbabwe. And that's it.
There was a court ruling that said the leadership of the MDC should go to Thokozani Kupe. You remained with Nelson Chamisa and disregarded the court ruling. Now, is that not contradicting with what you're saying, that you want institution instead of personalities, because you went with the personality when the court said this is what the institution should do?
I went with an idea. I couldn't. The courts cannot decide how a political party functions. We cannot have courts deciding who our leaders become. I will support an idea that actually goes with the same values that I value. I want to see a beaming Zimbabwe. I want to see Zimbabwe on the radar of top performing economies. So I'll follow an idea, but I will not have courts choose the kind of leader that I will follow, because that's not the court's job to do that.
But you were the ones who went to court in the first instance. Why didn't you then respect the court ruling?
It was an issue of wanting to expose that there is a judiciary, there's judiciary capture in this country. This is exactly why we go to courts, even when everyone else is complaining that why in the MDC Alliance do you continue to go to courts when you know that the rulings will not be in your favor? This is continuously done so that we expose that there is judiciary capture in this country. And I think we've made our point.
And what's the benefit of that to your political party then?
It then shows the young person that I'm trying to convince today to actually then vote for MDC Alliance, to actually know that this is what not to do, because we can't continue with a country that then compromises institutions. We can't continue to vote for a party that thinks they are above the law, they can capture anyone, and they can do whatever they want with the people.
Just over this past week, there has been a lot of chatter on social media that there is some divisions in the MDC Alliance, especially in the youth wing. Your Secretary General was being attacked on some. Can you give us insights to that? What is happening?
That's the visual of a government in panic. These are imaginary divisions that are being talked about. I don't remember a time where we have divisions. In fact, we've been working very well. We've been very supportive of each other. We've been having one plan towards the goal that we want to achieve in this country. And there are no divisions in my party. And the case you mentioned of, the Secretary General in the Youth Assembly wanting to be expelled, I've been sitting since, like I told you, the chairman has taken a leave of absence. There is no issue to expel anybody. Why would he be expelled? I mean, he's a good leader. He's one of our shining lights in the MDC. Why would he want to be expelled? And in any case, there is a huge process that takes a person to be expelled, and there is nothing that our SG has done. It's imaginary. It continues to divert people from the actual issues that they are supposed to be focusing on.
But when you say it's a government in panic, the first person to raise this was not government, it was Petsai Ruanya, who we have seen is supportive and sympathizes with the MDC Alliance more than anything else.
I wouldn't know where he got that information from. It would actually be better if he actually clarifies why he would then, post something like that on social media. When I actually saw it, I thought it was a ghost account. I didn't believe it would be him. But my also efforts as a youth leader to actually then reach out to him were not fruitful because I couldn't reach him on his mobile.
There's some people who say that the MDC Alliance does not take criticism lightly, and that you lead a party of hooligans, especially the youths, who then insult people who have different opinions. Is that a true reflection?
I don't think it's true, because I believe almost all the time we have a whole department that actually go into the criticism that takes place on social media, collating it, and we draw lessons from it in an informal meeting that we sit. So I don't think it is very true to say that we don't like criticism. In fact, criticism is what shapes a leader, because you can't have people who are just clapping for you all the time. So we have a whole department that does that. That goes to take that criticism, in fact, to get us to actually then draw lessons from it. I do not think it's true.
And I also want to, there's this thing that I'm gonna plan.
If we have a plan. That idea that I was talking about, the idea that we support a young leader who is innovative, who wants to be transformative, who has greater visions, a greater vision for this country. That idea is the plan.
No, but the plan to win elections is what is being asked, because you, as the MDC, you have been around for 20 years.
Why do they want us to preempt it? A plan, if it's there, you actually see it rolling. Like I was telling you, that from where I'm standing today with you, from where I'm sitting from this moment, you are going to see a massive, voter registration campaign period with different kind of programming that has never happened in this country, that we are going to launch. You are going to see us engaging the young, the virgin voters. You are going to see us, in a strong recruitment drive, because we understand we've got strong supporters, the MDC Alliance, but we now need to translate those people into our proper members. And we can't preempt our plan just because someone has said that. So I will continue to say they are a government in panic, because they want us to preempt our plan so that they go and refine it and do the usual that they always do. And we're not going to do that. But what I can simply tell you is that idea that you were saying, people say it's a cult, Chamisa is the plan. Chamisa is the plan.
But do you think that the MDC at the moment is weakened? Because you have been suffering splits, and you have just suffered a split. You lost the Harvest House. You lost your former Secretary General and a whole lot of people who founded the MDC. Do you think that makes you weaker?
No, I think we're at our strongest, because I'm actually happy this happened in this election cycle, in which people can actually see, because this is the struggle, pruning the bad leaves, and they are going where they are supposed to go. Losing our headquarters, of course, it can be painful to some of us, because infrastructure is very important when it comes to the runnings of the daily political activities of a political party. But we believe that the biggest infrastructure that we have is the millions of people who support the MDC Alliance. We believe that those who have chosen to take the path of actually selling out the struggle and become ZANU-PF surrogates is actually the struggle pruning itself, and we are stronger than ever. Yeah.
But in elections, numbers matter, and you have been losing numbers, those that you call
numbers in terms of
votes.
In terms of votes.
Yes.
What kind of measurement are you using?
Douglas Monzora used to vote with you. He won't vote with you this coming election.
Yes, of course. And in the coming election, if Douglas Monzora get 15 at most that we can give him for his clan, the Monzora clan coming from Inyanga, I think that will be the best that we have. The numbers that we are referring to are the amount of supporters that we have. And we believe we've got the strongest support in this country. And we will prove it in 2023. Because we are going to work hard in order to make sure that the government of the people gets in power.
Just soon after you were elected the deputy chairperson of the youth, I held an interview with you.
Yeah.
And you said to me that guns don't scare you, that the people cannot be finished by a dictator. Do you still stand by those words?
Yes, I still stand by it, because I couldn't be sitting here today with you if those guns were really actually scary, if those people actually would want to eliminate us. I could be gone by now. I wouldn't be sitting in the same chair with you. And I said it that Mnangagwa can't kill the entire nation. So it's a matter of us mobilizing the young people. It's a matter of us mobilizing this youth pouch that we have to make them see that even if my voice is suffocated, he cannot suffocate a million other voices. So this is what I meant when I said Mnangagwa cannot shoot the entire nation. Because I am a voice that represents the voice next door and the voice in, you know, in Dandide.
There is a fight right now between ZANU-PF and the MDC for the youth vote. And ZANU-PF has brought in the likes of Passion Java, Madame Boss, and they are galvanizing the youth vote.
Yeah.
How are you going to match that?
I don't think it's a matter of us being reactionary and trying to match what is happening. I think the youth can see for themselves. This is why you see on social media people even rubbished that kind of strategy, that they would want to use socialites and people who they think they are influencers, putting them on a list, actually reaching out to them to mock the young people of this country, to say Passion Java can go around the country and be distributing $5 notes to young people, $5 notes that are not sustainable in their lives. Young people do not want that. Young people do not want the flashy cars that Passion Java drives. Young people do not want the $5 that he will distribute when he goes to Chinoi or any. Young people want jobs. Young people want a sustainable economy in order for them to have opportunities in this country. Young people want business opportunities. Young people want to eradicate this urban poverty that is happening, and we do not. They actually are very conscious. They will not buy that.
How
strategy.
certain are you of that?
I am very certain, because I've been seeing the conversation, and we've been having this conversation in the grassroots with the youth that we represent and the youth that we meet in different platforms that we talk about. People are actually very certain that this is a strategy just to lure the 2023 election. But they're not buying it, because who would buy such a mockery of a strategy that then gets a socialite who comes driving a Bugatti to you? A mockery. He is driving a Bugatti and he comes to you and he gives you $5. He tells you that he's going to come and, you know, get you having business proposal to start businesses. People are not buying that. We are not going to then try and counter that strategy. What we are simply going to do is make our electorate more conscious of what this government is trying to do, and no one is buying from that.
Mm-hmm. But they say that, you know, a hungry person would need something to eat, and when they get something to eat, they don't forget. We have seen elections being decided by 5 kg bags of mealie meal. We have seen elections being decided even by T-shirts. And I mean, certainly someone throwing $5 US dollar notes to people could be.
I think elections have been, in the past, were being decided by the harvest of fear, but not necessarily a bag of rice. Because when you receive that bag of rice, what traditionally used to happen is your name would be written down and you would be told that if you don't vote for the party that has given you. So it's most to do with the harvest of fear. And I don't think in the time that we are going, with the amount of consciousness that we are going to plant into the people, that is going to ever happen. And especially the urban youths that they're targeting, because you can actually see through their strategy that they think they can take Harare, for instance, they can take Bulawayo or any other metropolitan province. They can't do that, because really $5, like I said, it's not sustainable. People want a sustainable plan in their country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you're talking about sustenance. What are you offering as a sustainable plan?
We have a lot of if you read our policies on the alternative of the government.
ZANU-PF has also written alternative
but they
policies.
have not implemented
Yes.
them, because we have not implemented them, because we are not in government. But this is what we are telling the people. This is what we are telling the people. It will happen for them when we get in power. We are not promising people $5. We have never actually put that on the table to say we are going to roll out a plan that you see giving youths $1 or something like that in order to get them to be voting for us. People should actually follow an idea. People should actually follow a proper plan that will be rolled out, not necessarily this politics of patronage that is happening.
Some people say that voting doesn't matter. It's who counts the vote that matters. How are you dealing with that?
That's the issue that I was talking about strong institutions, that I think there is a strong drive for a reform agenda. And I think that will be elaborated more when you actually get to sit down with those who are actually in the right department in my part to really talk about that reforms agenda drive that is going to take place.
But if it doesn't happen, you are a youth leader, Cecilia.
Yeah.
You are supposed to have the plan. What are you going to do? Because we have seen you going to elections. 2018, there was no reforms, no elections, but you went into election either way and you were defeated. So you most likely go to
I do not think it will be very easier for them to then also rig this election, because they take advantage of this gap that there is voter apathy. And this time around, we are going to make sure of it. In our plan that I will not preempt, but that I have told you that we are going to roll out, we are going to make sure that as we go into this massive voter registration, massive voter mobilization, massive voter, we are actually encouraging people even to, when they register to vote, they should actually participate on the voting day, protect their vote and defend their vote. So we have a proper plan in place that will make it difficult for this regime to actually then want to rig, because that gap that used to exist of voter apathy will not be existing anymore.
The ZANU-PF has also won massively in rural areas. Where you in a rural area where your president had 15 votes, ZANU-PF would have 15,000. Now, what are you doing with that?
It was a matter. It was that issue of voter apathy that I'm telling you about. They would always take advantage of that hopelessness that exists in the rural areas. That notion of people saying we will not vote because it will not change anything, and this is what we are trying to then correct as we go up. We have learned from the mistakes of 2018. We have also learned from what has happened in Zambia, and we are going to be in full force in trying to correct those mistakes.
President Emerson Mnangagwa says those who dream that what happened in Zambia will happen in Zimbabwe must...
Smith also said that not in 1,000 years that these people would remove easily to England. And independence was brought about in April 1980. So those are... Any dictator, any person who is trying to thwart any revolution will say things like that. Smith clearly said that not in 1,000 years would these black people ever be in power. And they brought about the independence. So he's falling in the same trap, and we know because he's saying it, it's actually affecting him. He knows it's possible. And it is very possible. Yeah.
So, some have said that the military is strongly involved in the elections of Zimbabwe and is also very involved. In fact, Jealous Mawarire of the NPF says that the army is the one behind ZANU-PF. Do you think that if it is so, you have the capacity to defeat ZANU-PF with the backing of the army?
We go back to the issue of the reforms agenda that I was talking about. The issue of us not having strong men but strong institutions that are detached. The same way in Zambia, you saw even when people were protecting and defending their fort, not a single soldier, opened up their rifle to shoot at a citizen, but in fact protect them to make sure that there is peace in the streets. So this is where we want to get to as a country, and I believe we will get there. Ours as the youth right now is to make sure that we contribute to the growth of the party by recruiting and by making sure that those that we recruit actually then, get to vote.
Just share with me what your next 6 months will be like.
Our next 6 months will be a massive voter mobilization, voter registration campaign. We are going to try and help, because we know that right now the most of the young people who actually want to register can't access their identity cards. We are going to have a plan to actually then try and assist them. We are going to have a plan to actually make sure that we carry the young people, regardless of their political affiliation, to go and register. Then we will start from there in terms of planting the consciousness that I've been talking to you about. So you're going to see a voter mobilization, voter registration drive, a massive one that we are going to drive. You're going to see us in the communities, making sure that we have people conscious in those, because I believe that in the past people were taking advantage that the people are ignorant, and we need to inculcate some ideas in them and for them to actually know what we are trying to do here.
The biggest challenge for political parties has been the access to resources.
Yeah.
You have lost your resources that were due to you through the political parties funding bill, which are now going to the MDC-T. How has this affected you, and how will it affect your plans to do what you're talking about?
You know, being positive in every plan that we make, I believe the biggest resource that we have is the young people who will take advantage of the, you know, the demographic dividend. And this is the biggest resource that we have. The moment that they shake this town, the moment that they shake this country to show that they are tired of what is happening, that's the moment that they will go and vote and pen their vote for change. And that's the only hope that we have. That the resource can't only be monetary, but our resource is the biggest support that we have. Yeah.
Just recently, I saw your poster on the Frederick Newman Foundation, talking of you as an amazing woman leader. How does that feel for you, Cecilia?
Feel for me as in
how do you feel?
that space.
Yes, how do you feel being recognized by big institution like the Frederick Newman Foundation and being beamed across the world as an amazing young women leader?
I think it shows us that we are getting there, and the footprints that we are trying to put are being seen, occupying that biggest space. I think I actually wrote about being on. I felt honored being part of that huge publication. It means that someone somewhere out there is actually appreciating the small strides that we're trying to take in order to achieve the biggest goal that we want to achieve. And I hope it inspires somebody. I hope somebody wants to actually, you know, be in the same shoes with us so that we journey together. Because this is not a one-man band. I can be on the front line, but what matters is the people who we are actually leading. Are they conscious? Are they willing to walk the same journey that you're walking? And I'm happy when it is recognized by huge platforms like the F&F platform.
And you are also, you said that for the next 6 months you'll be leading the Youth Assembly. Now
Yes.
talk to me about how it feels to be, as a young woman, to be in charge of the Youth Assembly, and your message to your cadres in the Youth Assembly.
It feels, it's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of planning in your head. It's a lot of, you know, imaginary victories. It's never, I'm here, because we are not yet, I'm not yet where I really want us to be. The day I'll say we are where we want to be is the day that people vote for change and we have the alternative government in place that has the priorities of the people and the wishes of the people at heart. So for me right now, this is, like I told you, I carry the burden to my bed every time. So this means sleepless nights. This means we have to be ahead of the dictator's plan. This means that we have to make sure that we energize the young person who is in this country, to awaken them from their political realities and drive them together in the same ship that we are going.
Finally, in conclusion, Cecilia, where do you see your political party, your vision in 2023? How do you think you're going to get there? What are your dreams and aspirations ahead of 2023?
In terms of, I've mentioned, I don't think for me right now it's mostly to do with an individual aspiration. It's more to do with the burden that we are carrying. The people who are actually letting down by not actually performing up to what they expect, and bringing them on board and leading them from the front line. So for me, I don't have any individual aspiration that is political. Of course, everyone has ambitions, but like I'm saying, this is a huge burden and this is a great task ahead of us. So for us, it's mainly we need to get to 2023 with the people on board. We need to get to 2023 with an energized young people who are conscious, who actually know what they want, and we need to vote for change. So that's where my brain is still stopping, I think, in as far as it is concerned. I'm not seeing myself and imagining that maybe, so when Nelson Chamisa gets in government, how is he going to reward me? I'm actually then at that time leave the country to say we have done it, it's done, then we can actually rest, some of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you noted that you're an educated young lady. Now just for the benefit of those who don't know, maybe share with us your credentials.
I studied journalism and communications, and I'm actually on my way to study law at the University of Zimbabwe. I think my personal experiences have shaped me into wanting to then study the law of this land in order to actually defend the law of the land. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, Cecilia Chimbiri, and we certainly wish you the best of luck as you continue in your journey, in your political journey as a youth leader, in your journey as a Zimbabwean, and we hope that we will have another conversation with you soon.
Thank you very much for having me, Blessed.
Thank you. Now, thank you very much, viewers, for watching here. I was talking with Cecilia Chimbiri, Comrade Chauya, as they call her in their political circles. She was sharing a vision, and she's one of the young leaders in Zimbabwe, a young woman who's going to be acting as the leader of the MDC Alliance youth, and she has said it all for you to hear, and ours is to ask the questions that matter and to get the information to you. We are an alternative voice. We are the voice of the people, and we allow everybody to be heard on this platform. And this was Free Talk with me, Blessed Mhlanga, in partnership, very proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation and Heart and Soul TV and Radio. Until next time, thank you for choosing us, and thank you for making us your station of choice. This was the Free Talk, proudly brought to you in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation and Heart and Soul TV and Radio. We believe that dialogue is the crux of development. When people talk to each other, when people listen to each other, development happens. On Free Talk, we believe in political dialogue, economic dialogue, and social dialogue. Everybody must be heard. Everybody has a right to be heard. Free Talk, talking that moves nation. Free Talk, talking that makes a difference. This is the Free Talk.